Well, obviously, making this, after the announcement of O'Mar Stanley, so we can start there. But obviously, another nice piece to add to your roster here.
Yeah, our staff and they've just done an amazing job of finding the right guys because so much of the portal is, there's 1,500 names to sort through, and we want the whole package here, and we protect the chemistry of this team. We protect the, that's what won for us, the character of the guys that we have on this team, and that's number one. And so you got to really dig in deep, and you got to be able to rely on people you trust that know things about the kid, not just, hey, who are the most talented, but because lots of teams fell apart last year because of maybe off-season moves where they took people that didn't fit together. And I think that's the number one thing that my staff has done. And that's where it's so great to have so many connected guys on this staff because, we're 1 degree removed from every player in the country, it seems like. And so you really get to know them. And the Bronco Nation's going to love the guys we brought in. They're high character guys coming from great families with great stories, and they're going to thrive here. They really are, and I'm excited to see what they bring. Not just the transfers, but those freshmen that we signed is a really special group. So, couldn't be more pleased with what we were able to accomplish in the offseason. Because also, you have to put a team together. You can't just get 13 of the best players. I mean, there's some programs that do that, and that's their philosophy, and it can work in that way. But ours isn't that way, and we are greater than the sum of our parts. We make it fit, but you still have to have talented guys to do that and to win games, especially in this league.
Can you, what is the story? I mean, the guy that played high school ball in Kansas and he winds up at St. John's and now he's coming to Boise, Idaho. So
Yeah.
What was the 1 degree of separation in that story?
Well, we always have hidden guys parked all over the world that help in this process, and people we trust and that we have relationships that we, usually in recruiting, if you don't have an advocate, you're probably not getting the kid, and we've had some great ones. But Omar's a special kid. He really is, and he's going to blossom here. And, there's we lost some great players last year again for the second year with the graduation of our seniors, and one of those great ones was the energy and the enthusiasm and the infectious smile that Naj brought. Well, Omar's got a lot of that. He's one of those kids that every time you talk to him, you're excited to talk to him, and you feel better about things after you talk to him, and that's a great quality to have on a team. And there was a void in our locker room, or would be a void, losing Naj, but I think Omar's going to be, in his own way, is going to fill a big part of that because he gets to be himself that way, and that will be huge for our culture and our team.
Was it at all hard to evaluate Cam Martin without, the past 2 years of much on court?
It was surprising, yeah. It just because but that's where you rely on a lot of people, and then the things you got to see as you went forward. That's a that's a special player, and people that understand basketball understand that the level he put up those godly numbers at. It's a hard level to play at, and it doesn't matter who you are. Like, there's a lot of bigs in the country that if you put at that level, they're not averaging those numbers. A lot of them, and most of them, because it takes a really special mentality and a really special skill set to be able to score 25 a night. I mean, that's, the only guy I've ever been around that did something like that was Adam Morrison. And so it doesn't matter what level, because that's one of the best D2 leagues in the country. And I've been, I've coached at the D2. There's a lot of nights, a lot of guys on our team were better than guys that D1s around us had. So, those numbers are real, and he's a scorer, and but he's super skilled. And the thing I think he's improved mostly in the last 2 years, I thought on film when I watched the D2 stuff, I thought it was more of a Nick Duncan skill type kid. His athleticism is there. So that probably is the thing that surprised me most. But no, he's what a great fit, and I think somebody said something about, shoot, I think people wanted us to get Akeem Olajuwon because he's a good rim protector.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, maybe somebody that maybe doesn't know enough about basketball said something like, well, it sounds like they got 2 Tysons. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if it's 2 Tysons, that's a pretty good thing. I mean, that kid's going to be a Player of the Year candidate in the Mountain West. He's first team already as a sophomore. I'll take 2 of those any day, no doubt. There's not one coach in the country that wouldn't take 2 of those.
I think I read something not so long ago that Hakeem's kind of lost his vert, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, quickest jumper I've ever seen.
Yeah. With the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh. But if you look at like how you guys have maneuvered this new era of college basketball, it definitely seems like it has been more rewarding for you guys than the other way around.
Yeah.
I mean, case in point, you were able to replace Marcus Shaver Jr. with a true freshman that played over 900 minutes.
Yeah.
At the D1 level last year. So I just,
Who's got a huge upside,
so
I think.
Just take on what the transfer portal has given and taken from you guys. It seems like you came out on top.
Well, I think one of you guys maybe pointed this out a week or 2 ago. There was only 2 or 3 teams in our league, and now it's maybe 2 or maybe 1 that didn't lose a starter to the portal. And that's the big thing is that the guys because I understand there's like some of our guys that left. I get it. We're honest with them. We want them to have success, but we got to be honest with them about how many minutes they could possibly play. And most kids want to play, and so that's what they're seeking. And so those work out great. And I support those 100%. But we've got a great nucleus coming back, and then we added to that nucleus. So yeah, but it's also what we decided as I got some old heads on our staff, and I got young guys, and I said, look, if we want to complain about the portal or complain about NLI, then retire, get out, do whatever, go do something else, go, dig a ditch or do something for a living, drive a truck, because that's the way it is. And if you want to coach at this level anymore, then you got to do that. And the guys that aren't adjusting and not evolving, they're going to perish. And we know that, and that's kind of our mindset of how we took it on, and took it on with a positive attitude and attacked it. And I feel like we've done great with that, both things, the portal and the NIL. And again, the NIL is a big credit to guys like Mike Walsh and our administration, because they attacked that. They had the right mindset of it, and we got ahead of the game. And not, that a big part of winning is being one step ahead, because people evolve and they see what you're doing, and then and then they do it too. More people do it. So if you can find ways to innovate and find ways to stay ahead of it, even when things are going well, that's when you're going to be successful.
How do you look at the roster now, and on paper you have no scholarships left, and you never know what to believe on social media.
Right.
Well, people say they're coming you still have visitors maybe coming at the different positions.
Yeah.
Are you guys done with this roster?
Well,
or what's
the thing about this day and age that's so different, in the old days, you'd get done playing and you'd have a real good idea what your roster was, and it was set, and you could kind of bank on that, and it could change daily, and it might, and so you never want to be caught where you're like surprised by something. So, like I tell our guys, we're never done, and we never will be done. Whether it's the day before school, whether it's Christmas, doesn't matter. You're always looking, and my job is to always be bettering this program. That's the way we approach it. And so we always have to turn on. It doesn't mean, tons of that stuff on social media probably isn't true, and people speculate and people jump to conclusions, and so there's a lot of that, no doubt about it. The truths aren't there, but there is truth to, we're always turning over rocks and looking at things and looking at the roster and seeing what we can do. And like I said, because everything changes in a moment, and you don't want to get caught where you're surprised by something.
in terms of the guard position? I mean, you obviously have Jace, but I mean, in terms of you have a lot of unproven guys. Other than that, I mean, Kobe played some, but I mean, you're bringing Meadow, Keene. I mean, guys you're counting on that haven't played at this level yet. Do you feel good about that, or if there was a way to get one more proven scoring guard in there, would you do that?
as coaches, I think a generality that every coach in the country would want one more. It's just the way it is. But you also have to look at, guys developed and guys did what they did last year because we didn't have, there's pros and cons to having, no depth, where you know what you're getting every night. Those guys know the minutes they're getting every night. And we do have some guys that played probably a little more than they needed to last year because I think it took its toll that way. So there's a balance there, but it also helped them become great players, and that you'd like to have a little more depth, but we do have guys on this roster that did some things last year. We're all league players that they need to be on the floor a lot. So it doesn't mean they need to be on the floor as much as they were last year, but you want your best guys out there as much as you can get them out there.
You got 6 new guys coming in.
Yeah.
If you could give me maybe a bullet point on each of them on the floor, maybe what the biggest thing they're going to bring to the team.
Yeah. Let's start with the freshman. Andrew, the thing that I know about him is everything he does translates. And he's got a versatility that there's so many different positions he can play and so many different, you need shooting, he can do that. You need rebounding, he can do that. You need defense, he can do that. Physicality, he's got that. He can play. I've seen him play all different kinds of roles on the different teams that he's played on. So, wow, that's a nice thing to have, a utility infielder that can play outfield and pitch and catch. Not a lot of guys can do that. That's valuable if you can find one of those.
Pitching and catching?
Yes, especially on the same day.
Your own battery?
Yeah, that's impressive. So, that's what I love about him. And I'm not just talking about, there's a lot of guys that could do that. He could do that at a high level, on a team that's good. I know that. Chris is a big, strong guard that has a mature game. And, when you think about big, strong guards here, you think about Derek Marks, and I think there's been some comparisons there. And what he accomplished is proof. You can speculate on, well, this kid's good and this kid's good, but sometimes it's the proof is in what the kid can go out and accomplish, and he was Louisiana Player of the Year. So, I think that's, but like I said, with freshmen, sometimes you just don't know how quick they can adjust, and how, like with Tyson, I didn't know how quickly he would adjust, and he became Freshman of the Year. So there's always some unanswered questions, but there's talent there. I know that's for sure. So, and Emmanuel, who it's his birthday, happy birthday. He's got experience against pros. He's a body that, you can't, it doesn't look like a normal young player. It's amazing. And athleticism and toughness that is unique. And like I said, that experience that he's had against pros all this, these years is so valuable. And then the transfers, Roddie, he gained so much experience this year, and he got better and better as the year went on. And he's got a gear and when I look at some of the really good guards that we've had here, I don't know if there's been a sophomore that was in a better spot as a point guard. Derek evolved to be that. Mikey Thompson evolved to be that, but they were just ballers. Even Shave, he was a baller that played point. This kid has had a full year at running a point, and so he might be ahead of those guys. And that's some pretty lofty things to say, because those were great players here. One, Player of the Year, Kenneth's all-league player guys, and those kind of things. But we have high expectations for him, and one of the great things about him is he can go by people. And when you got shooters all around you and all that space, you have a guy that can go by somebody, it's going to create problems, no doubt. And then we've talked about Cam, and I love his moxie, his scoring ability. Scorers have a different mind but we've talked about his scoring, but it's his skill package, and if the night tells him to make get 10 assists, he can go get 10 assists. He has got a uncommon, usually don't see that behavior in a guy that big. It's a line from Ghostbusters, you know, when the toaster went crazy, or the fridge, I think it was. But he does. He's got things that you can't teach. That the feel for the game is remarkable at that size. And then Big O he's got an athleticism to him. He's 6'8.5", maybe close to 6'9". You know, that league, the fourth place team in that league, won the national championship going away from everyone else in the field. It's crazy. And he was right in those fights every night. So he's done it on a level that you got to respect, and you know, his efficiency was remarkable. But I also, you know, he's got 7'2" wingspan, but and his best quality, which we haven't even talked about, is his motor. Guys like, you know, when you think about Naj, that was the thing he had. His motor was made him great. So in a lot of ways, he brings that, but he's also 240. That's kind of nice. Yeah.
You mentioned kind of people wanting the Nathan Mensah type, just a big guy that can be tall and play defense and block shots. Is that kind of not as big of a deal in college basketball anymore? I mean, you look at like
I do think it is faded because it's when you have a non-shooter, and you know, Mensah stretched his range out to 6 feet this year. And again, I'm not taking, you know, that kid, I have all the respect in the world, and that's their system, but their system's different than ours. And, you know, you look at some of our great offensive teams, and you know, is when you had a 4 and a 5 that could shoot. And then now you kind of become unguardable a lot of times in a lot of ways. And, but you're still getting size and athleticism, so it's not like it has to be one or the other. As you grow as a program and your teams get better, you're able to recruit a higher level guy that can do more. And I think there's been a steady evolution of our program where you're getting guys like that. I mean, you know, I know it legitimized our program in your eyes, getting a rock chalk Jayhawk, you know, so. Yeah, that's. I think you'd take a whole roster full. But again, I mean, come on, not many teams wouldn't. Those guys are there for a reason. I mean, that you don't need to tell me. I've watched that program over the years. It's remarkable what they've done year in, year out. I mean, people take it for granted, I think, and it's. But they do it with great coaching and great players. That's it. You know, pretty simple and a great home court. So.
What have you seen from Cam defensively that makes you and your staff confident that he can come in here and play the 5?
Think about what he's gone against the last 2 years every day in practice. That makes guys better. And you know, he's big. You know, he's big, strong, veteran. I mean, we're going to have an old team, and that's valuable. You look at the stats of what old teams were able to do this last year, and that's huge. And so, you know, I think that, and I never underestimate coaching. I think I got the best staff in the world, and some of them coach, you know, we do some things defensively that are unique, that fit the way we play and the guys that we can get. And, you know, now you got an old veteran that he'll become a great player defensively.
You had your starting 5 last year. It's kind of ride or die at times.
Yeah.
And when people got into foul trouble,
or injured,
I
yeah.
don't want to say it forced you to get uncomfortable, but you kind of had to be a problem solver. And now you look at like what you're bringing in, and like it's probably not far-fetched to think that you could play Tyson at the 3 for a little bit.
You're right.
Year.
You're right.
So how much of these acquisitions, maybe not only in terms of talent, but in terms of what you might be able to do on the court, allow you to get a little more creative, I guess?
Yeah, no doubt. And you know, I'm a proponent of having my best guys out there all the time, and that's what we're working towards with Tyson. I think the versatility. I mean, if you played Tyson at the wing, you'd have one of the best guards in the league. I mean, he's that kind of player. He'd figure out a way, and he'd be, you know, that's a pretty good thing to say. So there's a lot of things we can do, and that evolves, you know, and that's the kind of stuff you work towards in the summer and figure some, you know. But Tyson's game is evolving, and I want it to evolve, and that was why, you know, you got to get some guys that can help him, and where it's not, hey, Tyson had to play 33 minutes out of the 35 at the 5, you know, or I mean, I don't think it was that dramatic, but you want to use his versatility, because I really believe that it affected his 3-point shooting, and he's one of the best shooters that I've coached and that we've had in this program. And this might, you might see the big jump in that number.
With Mo Silla, I mean, he's the guy that obviously people just assumed wouldn't be back next year, and he didn't play. He's going to be. But how much better can he still get? And how much do you think last summer him not being able to do a lot really hurt him? And I guess is he a guy that can be in this backup big man picture?
That's nail on the head, because you look at the opportunities he got when he did get them, because we started small, so we had 3 bigs on the bench, and it became so difficult to even figure out who it was going to be, because you'd watch practice. I mean, there was just so many moving parts. So probably each one of them didn't get the chance they deserved or the consistency of it. Maybe Lucas got more than those guys did because he'd been here and played for 3 years, a little bit more, and maybe that was it. But every time, I mean, Mo helped us win some games last year. That game at St. Louis jumps out at me, and when you're going to face guys like Okoye. Well, now you do have another guy like that can, and your bigs are going to get in foul trouble. That's basketball, and so now you have a great and like I said, we are a development program, and like what you said, we didn't have him last summer, so he didn't get all that time. He's new, he's speaking our language now. It takes an adjustment time, and that kid's a worker. He is a worker, and I love his attitude. He's going to graduate from here. There's so many positives to Mo that, I'm pleased with what I see with him, and we're going to, it takes depth. That you look at those teams that played in the championship game. Not one guy on those teams played more than 30 minutes a game, and they were playing 9 guys, sometimes 10, and that's you need that depth over the course of a long, long season. And, it's going to be exciting to, and then we haven't even talked, sometimes there's injuries. I mean, you saw it this year. We were a different team when we had an injury to a starting player. That was pretty consistent.
The transfer portal's a couple years old now. Where do you think you and your staff have gotten better about managing that and trying to evaluate guys when they do hop in there?
We just know our roles, and we're efficient in it. I got everybody doing their own, so we get statistical analysis, and then we're connected to a lot of people because of the time that, especially me, Mike, and Tim, of how long we've been in. And Berto's super connected because of how many people he played with is surprising. And, so we all don't, and the versatility of our connections is so valuable. I mean, I remember one time I was looking to hire. I think it was when I was hiring Berto, and somebody said, "Oh, you need to hire this guy. He's super connected to this high school." And I'm like, well, it's a lot more valuable to be connected to every Division I school and Division II school. And, I don't think you could stump our staff. You could spin the globe, pick a school and say, who do you know on this staff? And between the group that we have, we're going to know somebody, no matter what part of the country it is.
Kobe Young stuck around year 3. A lot of people were questioning that. What's his ceiling?
Let me take it off.
I mean,
Just the mic box. Let me see it real quick. I'm sorry. It cut out.
Oh, it cut out?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
I just want to turn it on.
All right.
Sorry, y'all. Here we go. Okay, there we go.
It's our new
Thank you.
tradition.
Thank you.
People
Oh,
might
God,
question
that
it.
might have gone on.
what can Kobe Young?
Yeah, that one's on film. Yeah.
What kind of role can Kobe? He's sticking with this.
Yeah.
What kind of role can he?
Well,
carve out?
I had a long-term plan for Kobe that, we talked about when we recruited him, and long-term plan includes improvement every year. And you've seen it every year, him get better, and he needs to make a jump because this program's competitive, and, that makes you better when you're around a bunch of good players that'll make it, tough to get on the floor, because then when you get on the floor, you've earned it. So it takes a lot of work, a lot of hours, a lot of self-motivation. We're not going to drag you to the gym to make you better. You got to want it, and it's got to be intrinsic. And Kobe's made big strides in that, I think. And, he's got an athleticism that's unique. He brings a skill of being able to guard and move his feet. So, yeah, that's the thing. Everyone sets your lineup and your minutes and nobody had Jace in our lineup last year, including myself. And he was a night in, night out guy. He earned it. So there's always going to be those surprises every year. And it's funny because everyone tries to, we've even talked about that. Like, who do you think your surprises are? I can make good, educated guesses, and a lot of times I'm about probably 50% on those guesses. Like, Jace was coming off a mission last year, hadn't played basketball for 2 years, and what he did was really, really, really impressive. You talk about starting at the bottom and moving up, he just day after day after day just competed his tail off, and the toughness that he showed and the grit and the work ethic. Never underestimate a guy that does that. That's what I've learned.
With the transfers that are coming in, what can they learn from a guy like Chibuzo about what it takes to come in, make an impact immediately, and kind of earn a role? I
think that's also a reason why we got some of them, because, you're going to have struggles. And, Buzo's his first couple games, right? You guys were all like, hey, what happened to this guy you were telling us about? He played 9 minutes in the first game. And, when you look at what he was doing a month later, or what he did even down in Myrtle Beach, they know that there's going to be struggles and you're going to have to get over her, but you have coaching staff that will believe in you, that will keep working with you, and that, so I think that's a great role model for what those guys are. He averaged 1 point a game, and to do what he did in a lot of those games was pretty impressive. And he's another guy that's going to make a big jump this offseason, because he was 1 year with us. That's it. That's all he had. And so now he's going to be more comfortable in the system. We know him better, so we can coach him better and have him be able to do some things that he wants to make a jump in, and that'll really help this team.
I know you said you're never done, but when you reference the super team after, and what you're trying to build, a lot of fans had their own idea of what that meant and what the expectations were going to be. With the 3 you've added and who you have coming in, did you feel you've accomplished the super team? Then a big part of that was, super team to different people means different things. I think they picture like, okay, let's go get Kevin Durant and all the, that super. Well, the super team is a team. That's where we differ maybe from some others. And so it was about creating that right chemistry. So that chapter is yet to be written. We have to go create this chemistry, this unbreakable bond with these guys. I'm ahead of the game because I got a bunch of high character guys that want to do it, and they will put winning first, and they will put the team ahead of themselves. And doesn't mean we don't have a roadmap for each one of them, but I've got a group that will do that. And that's maybe the biggest part of creating a super team, is that chemistry. And what we had last year, that we were greater than the sum of our parts. Well, we got more parts now, and if we can do that again next year, then you got something special, and then you do have, and that's what I envision. That's what our staff envision. That's what we want to build.
I was thinking an update on Shaver and Naj, if they're still around, what their quest is to play.
We're, that's the, and Lucas, Lucas is a kid. I've said this all along. He's going to be so much better of a player when he's 28, 29. He's got it's just the experience that he's lacking. So to try to get those guys to extend their career and keep going. Shave's going to surprise people because, this year he played. There was so much more behind the scenes that people didn't know about how injured he was. He was sick before the NCAA tournament. He didn't even travel with us. People don't know that. We were game planning without Shaver for 2 practices. The stuff he went through was crazy that he was able to produce what he produced out there, which leads me to, he gets in the right trout, he gets the right opportunities, all of a sudden that shooting ability that he has, that quickness that he has, that there's more space in the pro game, and for a guy like him, that's going to be valuable. So getting the right opportunities, extending his career, that kid's going to do something special. Same with Naj. I want him to extend his career and keep going. And I think all 3 of those have a future in basketball, as long as, it's a grind and now it's a job. And as long as they want to keep doing it, those 3 can bring something to any team.